What's up, everybody? It's Diego Call from PunchDrunkSports.com bringing you some breaking news, and Rafa Benitez has just signed for Newcastle United. Now, this is a big deal for Newcastle, just considering how dire, their chances are of staying in the Premier League next season. They're about, I think, a point or two between, there's just a point between them, Norwich, Newcastle, and Sunderland, and only one of those three teams are going to be able to survive. Now, I think bringing in Rafa Benitez is a real big step in the right direction for the club. When it comes to the three teams, so Norwich, Newcastle, and Sunderland, it's undeniable that Newcastle have the most talent. They have the more talented players, and it makes sense because they've spent the most money. They spent £80 million so far this season. I think it's £80 million, and they really should be getting a much better performances than they have been lately. And I think the main reason for just how bad they were is because Steve McLaren had no idea what he was doing with the club, and he had no idea how to fix the problems at the club. And I think that having signed Rafa Benitez, who, even though, in my opinion, he isn't necessarily the best coach around, of the people that were open, he's definitely the best choice. Just his pedigree, what he's done. He did very well with Valencia early in his career. He had a semi-successful spell with Liverpool. He won the Champions League, got to the final another time as well. Even though he didn't do anything from a domestic point of view, he did do well in Europe. With Napoli, he didn't exactly have the best time, but, Napoli is also a very particular place. And with Real Madrid, obviously, his reign at the helm of the biggest club in the world didn't go for very long. I just don't think that he's the type of manager that should be managing a big club. He's too defensive, and especially a team like Real Madrid, where you essentially have to be as offensive as possible and just focus on scoring. He's not the type of manager that you're going to want. So I think that him being in Newcastle is a very, very good job because, they're going to offer him something that he didn't have at Real, which is basically a project that's going to get that he can have sort of job security for. In the meantime, he builds this project. I figure that even if he doesn't save Newcastle from relegation, he'll probably stay in the job, and he'll be good enough, without a doubt, to bring Newcastle back to the Premier League. And I would say that if they do manage to stay in the Premier League and not get relegated, I would say that within 2 or 3 years, they could be competing for Europa League, because there's no doubt they have the talent, they have the finances, they have the stadium, they have the fans, so everything is in place for them to do well, except for the board. That's the only thing that they have. They have a terrible owner who, obviously, he's shown many a time that he doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to the football side of things, and that's what's holding them back. I think that if Benitez can sort of get past Mike Ashley's bullshit, essentially, I think that he can really bring Newcastle to new heights, considering just a few years ago, they were right there, about to qualify for Champions League. I think he could probably get them back. Maybe not quite to the Champions League, but definitely to be competing with the Europa League spots, even in only a couple of years. It all depends on how much money they give him, if he can bring in the type of players that he wants, because we know that Benitez, throughout his career, he's been at big clubs. Newcastle is a big club, but they're definitely struggling. So he's not going to be able to bring in the caliber of players that he's used to. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with those types of players, and if he can attract players based on some decent sized names based on his pedigree and based on his name alone. So that's about it. Let me know in the comments what you think about Rafa Benitez signing. Let me know what you think about Newcastle's possibilities of staying in the Premier League, and what you think will happen to him moving forward if they do stay up and if they do go down. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Check out PunchDrunkSports.com, and I'll see you next time.